One of the greatest experiences in life is to step far outside of your comfort zone and to see it through until the end. Now, let me give you an example. So starting about 25 years ago or so, I started recording music using a professional music studio. I've been writing some songs prior to then and decided it was finally time to get some stuff recorded. So I headed into the studio. Now, I relied heavily on the sound engineer for all aspects of the recording, the mixing, the mastering, the engineering, and all of those things. At that time, I had it in my mind that I just didn't have an engineering brain, so I was incapable of doing that part. I was fine with doing the recording, but other than that, it was pretty much all on the engineer. So I did that for about 10 years, recorded a number of albums, and then I decided at one point, okay, well, the home recording thing is becoming a lot more popular now, so let me go ahead and give that a shot and see what I can do. So I decided just to make a long-term commitment and learn how to do music production start to finish so I could do my own albums start to finish in my own home studio. And so I decided, okay, what I need to do is get a project together. My plan was to do a full album and do it start to finish in my own home studio. And that's what I did. It took me about 3 years, and so it took me a while to, first I acquired the equipment, and it took a while to, get some engineering skills under my belt. A lot of it was trial and error. A lot of it was, referring to a lot of YouTube videos and getting some professional tips. And then it was just a matter of diving in and doing the work. That's really where we learn the most in life, is when we could just dive in, trial and error, sort things out, figure things out as we go. And then you start to develop processes, and you start to take a lot of notes. And next thing you know, you've got binders full of processes and notes and, production skills and all kinds of stuff like that. So anyway, so it took me about 3 years, and I finally got an album done, start to finish. These were 12 songs. They were all pop songs with female vocals. And with the exception of recording the vocals, which we did in the professional studio, I did every aspect of the production in my own home studio. Now, was this the best quality album anybody has ever heard? No, I'm not going to say that. Although I was pretty proud that I was able to get a couple of those songs placed on some internet radio stations. So at least they were up to par for that. Now, as time went on, as I did more and more recording, the skills obviously get better the more you do it. That's really how we learn and how we grow, is through repetition and just, adding to our processes and refining our skills. And if you fast forward to now, 2026, I'm pretty much able to do an album start to finish that can maybe not be, the greatest quality in the world, but definitely professional, to a point where somebody would pay me money for my recordings. And they have. I've got a number of my own albums placed in various music production libraries. And the standards there are fairly high. And so it doesn't have to be, the top quality in the world, but it does have to be quite high. And so I've definitely reached that standard over the years. And it's just been a matter of, for one, a long-term commitment. You've got to say, this is a pretty monumental task, but, I want to do it. And so you go through the steps, you go through the learning, you go through the pain, you go through the extreme, and I mean extreme frustration. There's going to be a whole heck of a lot of that. But if you can get through that, in the end, you've accomplished something pretty great. I never thought in my life that I'd be able to make an album from start to finish, out of my own home studio. But I can do that now. And for me, that's a big life accomplishment. And it's something that 25 years ago, never would have dreamed of. Because I always figured that I'd convinced myself that I didn't have an engineering brain. And I think that's the part of the problem in life, is sometimes we sell ourselves short. We just make assumptions, well, I could never do that, I could never be at that level. I can never whatever. But if you go through the process, a long-term process, you'll see that you can do a lot more than you think you're capable of. That's one of the wonderful things about taking something on, stepping outside of your comfort zone. Scary, terrifying. A lot of people won't even go there. A lot of people will just make excuses and figure out a way not to do it. But if you can commit to it, go through the process, you're going to be infinitely rewarded. And you're going to see that you're capable of a lot more than you think. That's one of the beautiful things in life. We sell ourselves short sometimes, but when we say, screw it, I'm just going to see what happens, you'd be amazed at what kind of results can come from that. So be brave, plunge into something you've always wanted to do, whether that's recording music or building cars or anything that seems, far out of your comfort zone and scary. Go ahead and jump in, give it a shot, and you'll be amazed at what you can do in the end if you really take the long-term